I don't really like them, but keep it man. And like my goal, honestly, was to get people to change their perspective of us. Like, I don't feel a pressure of like, I've got to be the example of what a black
Yeah,
man is. But I do also feel like a responsibility to show people that black men are not a monolith.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we can be both.
I just took a little break. It's time to run it back.
All right, welcome back to the Computer Keys channel. I am Marquise, and today we're back with another episode of the My Tech Story interview series. Today I got Jarrett with me. We actually met through I don't even know if it was your post, but it was a post with you talking, and I was definitely intrigued by what you were talking about. So that led to us talking in the comments and then talking in the DM. So I appreciate you taking the time out to do this and everything. Um, Starting out, I just want to get a little bit about you. So you don't got to remember everything I'm about to list out. I'll keep you on track. But like, I just want to start with your name, age, location, hometown, race or ethnicity. Some fun facts about you, and then like interests outside of tech or outside of like what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Jarrett Albritton, from San Antonio, Texas. Currently live in Miami, Florida.
Mm.
Been in tech since 2006. Started my career off at IBM as an enterprise software sales executive, and been doing that for about 17 years now. Um, in terms of my race, I'm just a American Negro, black dude.
Straight.
Parents are from Arkansas, so that's as far back as we know.
Okay.
But yeah, fun fact: I've been to 81 countries.
Um,
And the last time I traveled out of the country was around New Year's of 2020. So I haven't even been out of the country since the pandemic. Um,
wow.
and it's been really because I've kind of found a new purpose, increasing diversity in tech through my personal brand. And I can talk more about that in a bit. Is there anything
Mm.
else that you asked that I forgot?
Yeah. Some interests outside of tech. So it sounds like traveling is one of those. But what are some other interests?
Yeah, so definitely travel. I would say interests outside of tech. I mean, really, I would just say pretty much travel at the end of the day.
Mm.
Like, I love to see the world. I love experiences. So, spoken word, comedy shows, sporting events. That's obviously why I like tech conferences so much because there's
Right.
a ton of activity and I'm really just about experiences. That's more
Mm.
like I don't really spend money on like watches and cars and clothes. I'll have like my one little vanity item,
Mm.
pair of Ferragamos, one nice watch, one nice pair of J's.
Mm.
And then, the car's got to be, whatever luxury because, you know, this is the society that we're in. But ultimately, though, like, I really don't care about material stuff. I'm really
Yeah.
just about experiences and like the memories that I can take away. So that's why I love what I'm doing. I'm not really into attention that much. I've always been low
Mm.
key. But when I saw how people responded to, my story and the opportunities in tech, in particular tech sales, because tech sales has been like this super secret that our community had no idea about.
Right.
And there's so much money in it, and it's so easy to break into um, compared to other tech jobs. So I've just kind of embraced it, and here we
Mm.
are.
Mm. I can't wait to get into because like looking at your page and everything, it seems like you got a lot. You got a lot going on. I'm definitely interested in seeing more about that. But before we get into that, 81 countries is crazy. So when did you start like that traveling, or when did you get that traveling bug and start getting into that?
I've always been curious. So, like, my best friend passed away when I was 19. And when
Mm.
that happened, I was just like, life is too short for me to like put off experiencing things. So, that's really what drove me into, you know, getting into sales, where I went and moved to Louisville, Kentucky for summer, then Minnesota, and then I did a summer in Miami. And so, just seeing outside of Texas and
Mm.
visiting New York for a company field trip, and going to LA for the Rose Bowl. That's where like the travel bug came in, where I was just like intrigued by different cultures,
Right, right.
accents, food, music, styles. And so once I moved to New York City for my first job at IBM, um, that's when JetBlue had this all you can travel package. And I think I'm probably the reason why they discontinued it, because I took advantage. Like, I hit every single city on the map.
Yeah.
And when I went to the Caribbean and I just went state, country, 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 um, you know, my girlfriend, who became my ex girlfriend, she, started a travel blog called 30 Countries by 30. And
Mm.
I was like, that's a great idea. I wonder if I can get to 30 countries by 30. And I checked off how many I've been to. I was like, okay, I've been to these Caribbean islands, which is cool, but I need to like see outside of that. So, um, got on this Facebook group called the Madness Travel Tribe. And once I was in there, started finding out about how to find travel hack deals where there would be mistake airfares. And at the time, they had to honor those mistake airfares. They changed the
Mm.
rules. But once I found those mistake airfares on like Airfare Watchdog and um, a couple other, Twitter pages, I started just booking and, figuring it out later. And yeah, I was doing like 20 countries a year. Um,
Dang.
and I would go back to the same country sometime. That's why it's
Right.
not higher. But ultimately, though, like New York City has JFK with all those international airlines, and then LaGuardia as well. So New York was like the perfect place to do that. And I
Mm.
found deals to like Italy for like 150, Philippines for like 280, Abu Dhabi for like 180, like Buenos Aires for 360. So like, although I was making good money in tech, it wasn't because I was just like super rich. It was also because I lived in New York City and I really just, prioritized it and looked at travel deals. And I know we're supposed to talk about tech, so I'll get to it. But
No, 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 no. I like learning more about the person outside of it too. So
okay,
no, keep
cool.
keep going.
But basically, my strategy was this, and feel free to utilize it if this makes sense for you. Number one, I was working remote, so that's a big reason why I was able to get away with this. But two, I would like see a travel deal, like say there's a mistake airfare that's tweeted out, and it's Barcelona for 270, and it's typically like 700, $800. I would book multiple round trips. So like one in March,
Mm.
one in May, and one in like September. And I would try to pick when it wasn't the end of the quarter because that's the busiest, craziest time for us as salespeople. So I would, book in time periods each quarter that I thought my boss wouldn't give a care about, and then I'd be like, hey, my aunt wants me to visit Arkansas, and these are the dates I was thinking. Which date is most flexible to you? Because I'm not going to tell them I'm going to Barcelona.
Right.
So like you would hit your number if you weren't going to Barcelona every weekend. So like I couldn't tell them that. But I would be like March, May, or September. They'll be like, you know what? Let's do September because March we got this, and then May we got that. And then I would go cancel the other two trips in 24 hours, get my money back.
Oh.
So that way, like, I wouldn't get stuck in a position where I'd have to cancel it or whatever the case was. And then, management appreciated it because I'm giving them options and I'm letting them know, like, hey, I don't want to disrupt what we have to achieve as a team. So, dates are going to be least disruptful so I can, see my aunt. So, yeah, that was the strategy. Did that
No.
like crazy. And
Yeah.
I'd be like waking up at like 2 in the morning doing Zoom calls. You know what I'm saying? It was good times. Good times.
No, that's smart as hell. I wouldn't even think of doing that. But yeah, I didn't get my passport until last year. I went out the country for the first time in February of this year. I went to Jamaica.
Gotcha.
So I got a lot of catching up to do. But I'm at to try that hack and try that out. That's a really good idea. So out of all of those countries, which one was your favorite?
I would say Zanzibar in Africa,
Mm.
Tanzania, aka Zanzibar. Beautiful beaches, very inexpensive. Like you have a huge seafood platter with huge steaks and seafood and all kinds of stuff for like $50. Beautiful
Yeah.
resorts for like $50 a night. Like you literally land there and you're a millionaire. The clubs, you're buying bottles for like I don't know, $100 with the sparklers and everything. And then it was
Yeah.
cool. you can take the bottles home if you don't drink it all. So I love that. And yeah, the culture, the people, super friendly. It's never been a civil war or bloodshed in Tanzania, so there's not like that heaviness of like
Mm,
violence and tribalism and all of that. And yeah, it's a great time. So if you've never been to Zanzibar, it's one of the most beautiful places you could ever be. And then Dar es Salaam in Tanzania is also a really really good time, and the people are amazing. So I would say that's my number one, and then number two would be probably like Amsterdam. Like I love
mm,
Amsterdam. I've been like 13 times, and then there's a bunch of others, but like those are like my top two. But
mm.
definitely um, gets that top spot.
Got you. Yeah, I've been wanting to go somewhere in Africa. I don't like. I'm like you. I don't know too much beyond of my roots beyond where we are here. But you usually hear about Nigeria or Ghana or places like that. But I think that's I might look into that one. That's a good idea.
Definitely.
And there's one more thing you just mentioned before we move into your story. Oh, you said you were from Texas, but you live in Miami. How'd you end up in Miami?
Oh, so how I ended up in Miami?
Yeah.
Um, in college or now?
Oh, you had different like stints there, or have you been
Yeah,
there since college?
nah. So during college, I did two sales internships with the
Mm,
Southwestern company, and then the third summer, I'm not sure how I ran into the company called University Directories at the time. I think it's called something different now. But basically, they sell yellow page advertising in university directories to local businesses, and
mm,
so they were recruiting for salespeople. And somehow I got in contact with him. The VP of sales used to sell with the Southwestern company, which is like selling books door to door. It's like hardcore, uh,
mm,
but like so many successful people have done it. And so that's why I did it and made a lot of money. And so because of that, the VP of sales was like, "Look, I love your experience at Southwestern. What part of the country do you want?"
mm,
I looked at Pepperdine in Malibu, and then FIU in Miami, and Miami had FIU had a bigger university, so I figured it'd be easier to sell. So I picked Miami, and yeah, lived there the summer of 2005. It was my first full summer as a 21-year-old. So as you can imagine, I had a ball,
yeah.
and yeah, I managed a team of three people. And so that was my first experience in Miami. So I experienced Miami for 3 months that summer when it was still heavily Cuban, heavily West Indian. There was no Wynwood. Brickell wasn't really a thing. Fort Lauderdale wasn't as vibrant as it is now. And so
Mm,
to see it now, I moved there July this year, and to see like how many startups are moving down there. The local government's pouring a ton of money into the tech ecosystem, trying to lure startup founders down there. Opportunity Fund is down there, Dr. Paul Judge, and they're giving away money to Black and Brown founders.
mm,
Working with Ted Lucas at Technology, helping upskill the local community so that as these tech companies come here, they can be hired. So I run a tech sales cohort there, and I'm basically see Miami becoming the next like Silicon Valley.
mm,
Because a lot of the VCs are tired of the homelessness and the craziness of San Francisco, how expensive it is, and
mm,
it's not even close to as beautiful as Miami. And then New York City, during the pandemic, a lot of people, escaped the pandemic in Miami and just kind of stayed here. So there's a ton of VCs from A16Z to Harlem Capital, et cetera, that are down here. And yeah, so that's that. That's one reason. The other
mm,
reason was the podcast that I shoot. It's called Big Tech Energy. Um, when I was looking for a place to film, my friend Wes Paul, shout out to him, he had a studio that he was doing his own podcast, Respect My Blueprint, in. So I just asked him like, "Hey, can I rent out your studio?" He was like, "Nah, man, you can just use it." So I was like, cool, relationship capital. So I
Yeah.
was able to use that for free. So I would fly out there from LA where I lived at the time, and I would shoot batch recordings of content. And I was just like, you know what? Instead of me flying out here every time, let me just live out here and then just pop in the studio whenever and shoot this content. So that's what motivated me to move there. And then I also had a lot of friends in Miami. From Cyrus Harbin of Tech is the New Black. He was down there. Ruben Harris, CEO of Career Karma. Chandler Malone, CEO of Boot Up, now CEO of Path AI. Uh,
Mm.
like so many different people. David Pulliam, Capital Connect. Cam Ward, founder of Black Men in Tech. Like, there's just so many people down there. Evan from Black Men Talk Tech. There's just so much going on down there. And I was like, you know what? Let me pull up and see what kind of opportunities we can form, and then the beach, and that doesn't hurt either.
Right. It sounds like I need to get down to Miami then. I didn't know it was popping like that. I mean, you hear Miami of spring break type stuff or partying and all that. I didn't realize it was such a tech boom going on down there. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Look into it, man. Opportunity Fund, Miami Tech Works, Venture Miami. Yeah, look into it. There's a lot of opportunity and money down here. Plus, taxes are great in Florida. You only get
Mm-hmm.
taxed once versus San Francisco, you get taxed like I think 3 times, and then New
Mm-hmm.
York, you get taxed 3 times. So, from the affordability, the government really supporting it, and taxes and the vibes. And there's a lot more just regular people because that was the thing that made me not want to move to Miami. Is like everybody is on some different stuff in Miami, like promoters and
Yeah.
bottle girls and this and that. It just seemed real shady. Now it's like there's all kinds of normal professionals down there. So I was like, all right, cool. This was the time. So yeah, if you can get down there for Art Basel, let me know. I got a spreadsheet full of events.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Definitely a good time. And there's a lot of tech events that happened during Art Basel this year. And the last 3 to 4 years, I'd say Art Basel is what kind of motivated me and changed my mentality towards Miami because I was
Mm-hmm.
seeing how more tech focused every Art Basel was becoming.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, I think I saw you post about that. My mom and my big sister actually live in Southwest Florida, so like closer to like Fort Myers area. So I'm down there a lot. I just don't come to Miami too often. But yeah, that I'm gonna be over there for sure. That because that's I feel like I need to get around that for sure. Um,
definitely.
I think that's a good little segue into like what you actually do. So my next question is, what do you do for how long, and then if you feel comfortable, like a salary or a salary range. But I don't know how much you want to get into that. But yeah, like so, what do you do and for how long?
Yeah, so I'm been doing enterprise software sales, or you can call it an enterprise account executive. Been doing that since 2006, so 17 years. And basically, what the role entails is I have a yearly quota of software that I am tasked to sell. And unlike other sales roles, it's more consultative. So I'm more of a consultant talking to business stakeholders about their objectives, their challenges, and what kind of impact those challenges have on their bottom line. Then I share with them a software solution that can fix that challenge, and then we just have to justify the cost to acquire the software by creating a business case. Highlighting the increase in revenue or the decrease in cost or the increase in compliance, avoidance of lawsuits, avoidance of cybersecurity threats, whatever the case is, whatever that pain is, we just have to quantify it and justify it. I would basically, you know, close the deal. Then I would, oversee the implementation, make sure that we overachieved on the objectives and the results, and then I would grow the account, socialize it within the organization, and expand the contract, and then take those success stories and take them around to different companies and be like, hey, we did this for them, and we can do the same thing for you. And so a lot of cold calling, a lot of presentations, a lot of proposals, et cetera, contract negotiations, security reviews. So it's a complex role, but the thing is, every single tech company has to have sales to drive revenue to get to Series A, Series B, Series C, and then to hit objectives once you're public for your shareholders. So sales is always hiring. They're always looking to grow. If you're not growing sales, you're not growing your organization. So they're
Mhm.
typically hiring. And so in terms of salary, like when I started off, I was around like 70,000. Mind you, I was in New York City. So higher cost of living in other parts of the country probably would have been like 50, 55. Uh,
Mhm.
and as I elevated um, across different companies, that's kind of the strategy is like you can't really get a huge raise at your current company.
Yeah.
So crush your number, show it off on LinkedIn, recruiters start reaching out, and then you can get that $10,000, $20,000 jump in base. So I went from like 70 to 80 to 90 to 100 to 120 to 140. And the highest I've been base wise is like 150, not including like different bonuses and stuff. And then in sales, what happens is, say my quota is 1.5 million. If I hit 1.5 million for the year, then that's on target earnings. On target earnings are typically double your base salary. So at 150, I hit my number, which is 1.5 million. It's not easy, but it's possible. Then I'm making 300,000. If I go over
Damn.
my number, then I start hitting accelerators. So whatever I was making, I would do like 1.2x, 1.5x, 2x, depending on where I hit on the accelerators. And that's where people can make, half a million to, seven figure W-2s. So I've had some really, really good years, but I'll averaged around like 300,000.
Golly.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't talk about money like on social media much. First time I talked about it was this reel I just did with Cyrus. It's kind of American Income style. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll talk about it a little bit. But yeah, I don't talk about it too much because I wanted people to focus on like the substance of
Mhm.
what we have to do, like the process. But the money is there. The money is definitely there. And you just have to work hard, be strategic with your time. But you also just have to really, really care about the people that you're working with. You got to
Mhm.
care about your teammates. You got to care about your management. You got to care about the executives. You got to care about the end customer. And you just got to make sure everybody is being taken care of.
Mhm.
Do that, and you're really into solving problems. You're really into understanding, like, all right, how can I get them from here to here? And be really invested in actually getting them there. You'll have a lot of happy people. Happy people will talk to other people. If those people are happy too, then it just becomes a snowball effect. And that's where I was able to, work from different countries and, kind of have a little bit less of a stressful, existence in sales is because I knew everybody I worked with was being taken care of. Those people would take care of me by being referrals. My teammates that I took care of, like, as a salesperson, I wanted to be known as the person that was the most considerate, the most empathetic, the most helpful. So if I need to, SE to do a crazy custom demo for me or travel all the way across the country for one meeting, they'll do it for me,
Mhm.
whereas they might not want to do it for somebody else. And yeah, that's been my whole thing in sales. So I know I kind of went in kind of a tangent, but
No, please do. Like, I want you to talk as much as you feel comfortable talking.
no doubt.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Um,
and
yeah,
all right, give me a second. All right, my first question. Well, for one, the reason I started doing these interviews is to show people that there's a lot of different lanes under tech that you can get into.
yep.
So you're actually the first person I've had on here that does tech sales or software sales or anything like that. So to hear the kind of money you can touch with that is crazy. But real quick, I wanted to know. So is it like your company gets hired by other like software companies to sell their software, or do you have like an array of different softwares that you sell, and then depending on the customer's needs, you just pick out of that? out of those softwares and try to sell that?
Yeah, so the software companies are typically selling like a suite of solutions. And
Mm,
so, we'll have like a target market in terms of the problem that we solve, but then we'll have different areas of the problem that we can solve.
okay.
So that's kind of how it works in that sense. So it's their software solutions, but they got like different products. So that's that. And so my job is just to ask questions like, so tell me about, do you experience this challenge? Do you experience that challenge? No, we don't experience that, but we experience this. Okay. Well, here's how we helped Walmart with that challenge.
Mm,
We used, SVC, or for this customer, we use TPM. So it's just like, different products within the suite. And then sometimes we'll sell entire like software stacks, enterprise level agreements, things like that. But it's just ultimately just figuring out like what is the problem and how can we solve it.
mm.
Software is gonna, solve that problem.
Damn, that's what's up. So, I mean, it's kind of like whether you coding or selling software. Either way, problem solving is at the base of the base of like what your main job is. Um, Figuring out the problem and then getting the solution for people. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's all tech is. And so once
Yeah,
you realize that and you become like deep into the solution, you become deep into understanding problems, and you actually enjoy the process of
right.
solving the problem, that's where you make a lot of money. And that's why
Mm,
I don't like to talk about money, and all the cloudy stuff that a lot of influencers talk about. That's why my podcast is called Big Tech Energy, because it's about the energy you put into the work you're doing. And if you're passionate about the education space, get into ed tech. If you're passionate about health and medical, the space, get into health tech, because then you're talking about problems you're actually passionate about, interested in, and it's not like a job. So, like for people that are coding, you need to be really into, building products and platforms via coding, and that's where all that tediousness is interesting because
mm,
understand what the end goal is. If you're doing it just for a check, you're going to go crazy.
yeah,
You're doing sales just for a check, it's going to be frustrating because when people say no, you're going to be like, I hate this job.
yeah.
When somebody says no, I'm like, man, they have no idea what they're missing out on.
Right.
Let me call somebody else on their team so that they don't miss out on this.
Mm,
And that's where you like send the fifth and the sixth email, and then they say yes because they understand it's not a salesperson desperate to make money. It's a person that wants to help you get to a better place
yeah.
in your career, within your life. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at the deals that I closed as things that help people get promotions, that help them, with their job stability, with, bringing more money into their families. So if you look at people like that and you're not looking at them as a commission check, how can I convince this person to buy my thing? But more so, how can I help them understand how beneficial this is for their organization? Um, it makes the whole process easier and more successful because people can feel your energy.
Right.
I'm convicted. I believe in this, and I just want to see you win. And on the other side, if I'm talking to them and they're like, have no need for what I have, bad salespeople will still push because they just want
Yeah. Keep
money.
trying to. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
good salespeople will say, you know what? You actually don't need this. You actually need that. So here's what I recommend you do. But, you know, thank you for your time, and let's keep in touch. If I come across something that could be helpful to your issue, and then let's check in next year, and I just want to see where you're at, and if these challenges arise, then let us know because we're a good fit. So like you have integrity, and you're being authentic, so that if I leave to another company and I have a solution, I can hit that same person up. I was like, hey, when I was at Kariba, what I had wasn't a good fit. But now that
Mm,
Clear Slide, I thought about what we talked about before, and this actually could be potentially beneficial. Because I was so honest before, they are receptive because they know, like, I'm not here just for a check. I'm here to actually solve a problem. And that's where listening comes in. And that's what sales is all about. It's just about asking questions and listening, taking notes. So
Mhm.
what I'm hearing is this. And then in the email being like, here's what we discussed as a next step. Let's do this. So yeah, people think it's all about like, how smooth can you be and can you manipulate people? It's like, nah, it's really just about asking the right questions and then just let them know, like, all right, you're missing a foot. We have a prosthetic. You put
Mhm.
it on, you can run fast. Would you be interested in running fast? Hell yeah. How much would that be helpful? Shoot, I would pay this much for it. Bet. Here's a proposal. Let's get it fitted and let's get you running. Um, and then they can go talk to the other person that's hopping around on one foot, and they'd be like, "Man, I'm sprinting and running around. Thank God Jared reached out." You know what I'm saying? And that made my job really easy because instead of me saying like, "Yeah, you can run," I already got 2 feet. I'll show them somebody that had one foot, and boom. So that was that's the approach, and that's the energy, and that's really what I want to emphasize in my content,
Mhm.
is like substance and real value. And that's how you have to be when networking and interviewing as well, is
Yeah.
you got to come off authentic and like you really care. And if you come off that way, then they know, all right, I can trust them. And it's all about trust.
Yeah. Yeah, later on we're gonna get into some tips you have, but I think that's a very good, solid early tip, which is just that authenticity. Jobs love doing those kind of personable interviews to see how you would fit into their culture, and yeah, that authenticity would take you a long way. Um, but yeah, just hearing you talk about it, I can tell like how passionate you are about it. How it's not just a check for you, it's not just a job. It's something that you're trying to make people's lives easier, and I could definitely tell that. Um, so you said you've been doing this for 17 years. You mentioned that you were 21 in 2005. So it sounds like you went right into this after school, maybe. Like,
Yeah.
what were you doing before that?
Yeah, so I did sales internships during college. I wasn't thinking about tech. I was just
Mm,
thinking about sales. So whether it was selling insurance, manufacturing, whatever, just business sales, business to business sales. I majored in finance, minored in marketing, um, and had no tech background. But I met IBM at a career expo in 2006, and told them about my sales experience. They're like, wow, that's pretty impressive. They invited me to Atlanta for a diversity hiring summit. And, I wasn't supposed to get the role because they needed MBAs with 3 to 5 years work experience for enterprise sales roles. But, I made a good impression, convinced them to fly me out to New York. When I went out to New York, I was super prepared. And then at the end, I just said, like, can I have the job? And they're like, wow, that's pretty ballsy. You don't have the experience, and there's other people we need to interview, but we'll get back to you. And then the recruiting coordinator was like, wow, Jared, I don't know how you did it, but you asked for the job and they'd never seen that before. And they just felt like they needed to take a chance on you because if you're going to ask for the job at the interview, you're probably going to ask for that $1 million order from, Verizon. So they gave me a shot, and I took my like sales grit from college where it's like, all right, I'm outwork all these, senior seasoned salespeople. And IBM is a great logo, so, and great training as well. The Global Sales School is amazing. Um, but IBM is a logo, like nobody gets fired for buying IBM. So cold calling and getting meetings as somebody from IBM was way easier than anywhere else I've been. And then, I just figured it out. Plus, I had a mentor that
um,
basically, a couple of mentors at IBM. So this is kind of a tip. It's like once you get to somewhere, especially in sales, who's the top rep? Michael?
mm,
Yo, Michael, I want to take you to dinner, lunch, most expensive place on me. And they see that like, wow, you're like a freaking kid and you ain't making no money compared to, but they respect it. So they're like, all right, bet. And then we're eating good food. And I'm just asking them like, if you're in my shoes, how would you approach this? How would you build out your territory plan? What products would you focus on? What industry is the most, receptive? What questions, get the pain out of the prospects?
Mm.
And, how do I get to the biggest deals as fast as possible? And Michael Grossi, who is the top rep on my team, he just broke it down for me, and I just followed the steps. And I crushed it. President's Club my first year. So um, finding a mentor, but really leading with value with them, not being like, "Hey, man, give me everything and tell me everything," and me. It was like, you know, can I at least take you to dinner? And then is there anything else that I can be helpful with?
Mm.
And just asking the question gets you a lot of respect because a lot of people are so about themselves. Uh,
Mm.
whereas me, I'm always trying to see like, how can I help this person win? And God willing, they'll reciprocate. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But the right people do. And that's
Right.
why I have a lot of right people around me.
Mm. I like that. Um, so I mean, I'm sure once we get to like your schooling and everything, I'll see more of this. But it sounds like you just have, I don't know, grit, grind. You got something in you to, I guess, for lack of a better word, I'll just say balls. Like you got balls to go out there, like,
Big tech.
like, like what's up? Like I'm interviewing for this, putting yourself out there. Like a lot of people, especially that young, that early, you're not really going, to, take that chance. So I like that a lot. That says a lot about like who you are as a person. I think. Um, nah, that's crazy. So, we're gonna get more into that. Like, once we get into like your schooling and everything. But first, you mentioned uh, you just wanted to do sales in general. It wasn't necessarily tech. So, and I guess you kind of already got into this. But the next question is, was tech your original plan? It sounds like sales was your original plan, and then you saw the opportunity through IBM, and then took that leap of faith on that opportunity. So, where I guess where did that mindset kind of come from to kind of, I guess, bet on yourself? Like when did that mindset kind of come into play for you to say, okay, I see IBM here at this event. I'm going to take a chance on them. I'm going to go to Atlanta, take a chance on that. I'm going to do this interview and ask them about like where does that mindset come from?
So I would say number one, I didn't know that sales would be my path. It was just I got approached by somebody from the Southwestern company, shout out Wade Floyd, and he was just like, "Hey, there's college students making 10, 20, $30,000 in the summer. Are you interested?"
Mm,
I would say my confidence comes from my parents. They both came from nothing and were able to be successful. So I just had a huge motivation to make them proud and to, show them like, hey, all the benefits that you were able to provide me that you didn't have, I'm not going to waste it. So
mm,
I would say that's where my drive comes from. I'm also kind of a Leo. I'm a Leo, so I'm like a little bit of a type A personality, like very like confident. Um,
mm.
thank God. But when they said like college students making 10, 20,000, 30,000, the Leo in me was like, sign me up.
Right.
What I need to do. And
Right.
knocking on doors 80 hours a week, 6 days a week. I was like, yikes. But you know what? Sign me up. Somebody's doing it. I can do it too. Uh,
Mm,
and it was hard, man. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I think because I started off in such a challenging uh, start, everything else felt way easier than knocking
mm,
on doors as a black kid in Kentucky and Minnesota. Um, but once I figured out sales, I was like, I like this. It's asking questions, identifying, solutions, and then being assumptive and closing, which is what I did when I interviewed. And the interviewing approach, in terms of like, how did I have the mentality to, take a chance on IBM? Same way I looked at selling bookstore to door. It's just a numbers game. Uh,
mm,
I knock on 30. If I get 30 demos, I'm going to at least close this many. So I got to get to this many no's to get to this many yeses. So let me just get to the no's. and so I can get to the yeses. That's how I treated interviewing.
Mm.
I interviewed with companies that I did not care about because I wanted to get to the no's with companies I didn't feel a huge pressure if there was a no. And then some of those would become yeses, and I'd be like, okay, I got another offer, cool. But I just did a numbers game. I just applied for everything, interviewed with everybody, and then I kind of left the really like my dream companies at the end. So by the time I talked to them, I was like, I could, um, just I knew the answers back and forth, up and down. Tell me about yourself.
Right.
Oh, I was waiting for this. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we did with selling books door to door. It was like, all right, start the first 3 weeks off in the lowest income areas so that when they say no, it's not like you're missing out on a huge sale. You can make your mistakes with folks that probably can't afford it. And then from there, once you get really good and you're just like on fire, that's when you go to the big mansions and they can, afford to buy your entire set. So that's
Mm.
how I approach interviewing as well. Was, you know what? I'm gonna interview with everybody so I can understand the questions, get really good at the answers, and then also maybe I'll be surprised. So yeah, I had two major offers, one from IBM and one from Progressive.
Mm.
Progressive gave me either San Diego or New York. IBM gave me New York, and IBM it was a no brainer for me. Corporate card, access to executives, the amount of money that people were making in the brand. It was a no brainer. But yeah, IBM definitely changed my life.
Mm.
If it wasn't for IBM, I probably wouldn't be in tech today.
Damn. All right. So before we move on, my last question about this is you could have sold cars, houses, whatever. So and I get to what you're saying about IBM specifically, but why tech? Like why not go sell $1 million homes in Atlanta or sell 10 cars a day off a lot? Like why tech?
Um, Tech is always going to be in the forefront. It's always
Hmm.
evolving. There's always new um, tech companies, tech sectors, um, and just the amount of innovation that's happening. I grew up in the 80s, so I've been able to see like it go from those freaking Oregon Trail computers to the damn iPhones. And
Yeah,
it's incredible the trajectory of technology. So for me, I want to be where the innovation is and the trajectory is. And then also technology is recession proof. Now I know there's like a lot of layoffs and everything like that, but these companies are still doing well. It's just a matter of, the economy, et cetera. But like if technology can automate processes, um, or make things more effective and efficient, there's always going to be companies that are, even if they don't have much money, they're going to spend it on something that can save them money.
definitely.
Um, yeah, it's like, all right, uh, we have to do layoffs. Let's buy technology that automates the things that the laid off people had to do. That's why AI is so like, powerful and scary, is because if even me as a podcaster, like I would have to spend $50,000 on a team, or I could spend $1,000 on AI that does the copywriting, that does the editing,
Right.
that does the um, thumbnails and the timelines and all that kind of stuff. So it's like technology makes things efficient. Technology makes people money. Technology avoids catastrophes like cybersecurity hacks or compliance with financial Sarbanes-Oxley. So yeah, technology solves problems, and if you solve problems, you make money. And if you impart a technology that solves the most problems or creates the best innovation, like an Apple or Microsoft or an IBM, you're always going to be good. It's just a matter of making sure that you bring the most value to that company, because at the end of the day, like it's a business. People think you get a certification and they just throw you money because, oh, you know how to code C++.
Right.
It's the person that codes C++ the most effectively, and does it on time and is consistent,
Mhm.
communicates. People like them. There's just so many variables to making yourself valuable to organization. But at the bottom line is it's the bottom line. So I'm always focused on the bottom line. Like, what do you care about, Mr. Manager, Mr. VP, Mr. CEO? And that's what I'm going to focus on.
Yeah.
And for sales, what I like about it is it's very black and white. It's not political. It's who sold the most.
Right.
They are the ones that we're going to take to President's Club trips, and we're going to give them watches, and we're going to, like let them be more flexible. And if Jarrett's in a different country, who cares? He just closed
Getting it done. Right.
and it done. It's about results. Whereas other tech jobs are a little bit more subjective. Like we're all doing the same thing, but they like Marquis more because he cracks funny jokes at the water cooler. So I don't like to be in that position. I like it. It's very black and white, and like my
Yeah.
numbers is why you like me. That being said, though, as a salesperson, you got to be likable internally because you're going to have bad quarters. You're going to have deals that don't close. And so you don't want to be that person that treats everybody like crap and is super arrogant. And as soon as they see a chance for you to fall, they may be like, man, let's get him out of here.
Get it? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they're not going to have as much leeway for you. So, like, although
Right.
I would have success, I was always very humble. When I would close a deal, I would like shout out every single person that helped me, from
Mm.
the executive assistant to the executives, because I want everybody to know, like, I appreciate them. I want you to win with me. And so when I win in the future, that it's going to be a mutual win. It's not going to be the Jarrett show. Look at me, I'm so great. It's like, nah, we are all great, and you should definitely give them a bonus, give them a bonus, give them a bonus. I'm gonna get my commission, but
Mhm.
give them bonuses as well, because without them I wouldn't have been able to close this deal. And so when I leave that company, or if they leave the company and they go somewhere else, I'm typically one of the first people that they call and say, hey, Jarrett, they're looking for an AE.
Mm.
Are you open to it? Because they get referral money, and they know they can work with somebody that they trust. Um,
Right.
and so, yeah, it's that's what it's all about.
Damn. That's, you dropping some gems in here. I love that you brought up how tech is always changing because that's been like a common theme that's come up throughout these interviews. But yeah, like it makes sense. Like tech is constantly changing. Is always something new. So I could see that being a solid field to do. I mean anything in, but specifically sales for sure. And then being personable and humble and everything. I definitely I feel that. All
Absolutely.
right, so getting into where you went to school and everything. Where did you go to school? What did you said? I know you said marketing. What was your major?
Majored in finance, minored in marketing,
Finance minus. Okay.
University of Texas at Austin.
Mhm.
Hook 'em. I don't know if I can say hook 'em. Yeah, my senior year, we won the Rose Bowl. So
Mm.
Vince Young, and that brought so many companies to our campus because there's just
Oh.
a buzz about us. And so it was funny. Like when I was interviewing for jobs, they'd be like, "Man, did you see that Rose Bowl game?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I was there." "You were
Mm.
there?" "Yeah, I was in the end zone when Vince Young scored." "Man,
Dang.
believe Reggie Bush, did that pass. Man, when we stopped Lindell White, like, it's a bunch of alpha dudes for the most part, because that's sales. And
Mhm.
we're just talking it up about sports. Did you play sports? Yeah, man, I played DB, I played point guard, da da da. And then it'd be like, oh crap, we got to talk about your sales experience. All right, so let's talk about it. But yeah, I majored in finance, minored in marketing, and you asked why didn't I sell houses or cars? Like I was interested in selling real estate,
Mhm.
corporate real estate in particular. But yeah, IBM, was there, and I went there, and I was just like, they really just sold you on how technology is, where it's at. Because in my mind, I was just like everybody else. I was like laptops, just
Yeah.
that doesn't really whatever, right? But then I realized, oh, software runs businesses,
Yeah.
um, and not consumer software like Microsoft Word, but like Oracle database
Right. Right.
names and all that stuff. So then that's when I was like, oh, okay, well,
Mm.
this shit costs millions of dollars, but it makes people millions of dollars.
Mm.
And if I make them millions, then they got to break me off with a little something. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's smart. Two questions off of this. What made you want to pick? What made you major in finance and marketing? And then the other question is, you mentioned how tech is constantly changing and everything. So what do you do to learn now? Like, are you on YouTube? Like, where are you going to keep your knowledge up to date now?
Nah, man. Here's the thing, and I think that's why a lot of people relate to me that are outside of tech. I'm not technical at all.
Oh,
I don't. I'm not really. I mean, like, I'm more a business person than a tech person.
I got you. Okay.
I just talk business, and then I reverse engineer tech into it. Then I'll have
Mm.
a sales engineer, um, like Cyrus Harbin for Tech is the New Black. He was a sales engineer, so he would like do the demos and the technical discussions. So I would talk more about like the process and the impact and create business. So that's where like my finance degree would come in to like break down ROI models and total cost of value. I think TCV, total cost of value. Yeah. Um, and all that kind of stuff, break even point of the investment and all of that. Like that's where I was good at. And it came to all the technical stuff. That's where my sales engineer, who is my right hand person, would get into all the technical stuff. I knew enough to be dangerous, but in terms
Mm.
of like, do I like read up on YouTube and um, different things? No, I just say, can y'all train me on this enough to where I can sell it? Yes.
Mm.
Have somebody really technical that can answer the questions that I don't care about? Yes. Perfect. Here's how I deal with executives. Here's how I move them through the cycle, and here's how I get deals done. That's all they care about.
Got you.
It's actually good that I'm not too technical too, because really technical salespeople will get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm just going to get into like the business problems, their desired future state, how we've done that on a high level via case studies and referrals. And
Mm.
I'm just focused on the next steps. Like, all right, cool. How can we talk to your chief of marketing? How can we talk to the chief of finance? Who else is involved in this decision? Whereas other really technical salespeople would be like, so, like, how does a database speak to the mainframe?
Yeah.
These business people don't know. They don't care. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, they just want to know, like, are you going to help me not get fired?
Right.
I'm saying so. But yeah, what made me do finance? I would say it was just like one. The Apprentice was like my favorite television show
I see.
in
Yeah.
college, and that's what made me want to move to New York before Donald Trump became who he became. Um, but yeah, like I love The Apprentice. I love the boardrooms. I loved like the suits with the pinstripes and the trench coats and all that.
Mm.
Like I was just very fascinated by that. So I was like, all right, if I have a finance degree, I can either be in Wall Street, I can be in real estate. It's a foundation of any sort of business. But I wanted to be that person in the boardroom. So when, you know, I visited IBM and I realized like, oh, I'm going to be in all kinds of executive boardrooms presenting to executives, and I'm going to be able to wear my suit with
Yeah.
my, initials in my shirt and my name embroidered I was all about that. Like when I moved to New York, I was super corporate and I loved it. And now it's funny, like I'm always wearing J's and sweatpants. And
Yeah.
it's like, I went back to what I probably should have been when I was in my 20s. But,
Mm.
but yeah, The Apprentice was a huge inspiration. And, Red McComb School of Business was a top ranked business school. And, but it was a public university, so it wasn't too expensive. So I was like, yeah, let me get the most out of this university. And that's, Red McComb School of Business. And the best degree to get at Red McComb's was finance by a landslide. Marketing, I did marketing just because it was interesting to me. I liked those classes. So I was like, let me minor in marketing. and sales had a class for marketing. So I was like, let me take a sales class. That's an easy A. And
Mm.
but yeah, that's what motivated me to do finance and marketing.
No, that's cool. It sounded like closing deals was like what you really wanted to do. It originally, it didn't matter what the deal was. You just wanted to be that person, like solidifying that.
I wanted to retire at 30. I really, yeah, I really, I mean, it was just like this ridiculous confidence, and I was
Mm,
I was probably a little arrogant in college. I'm like, "Yeah, you guys can have fun at your damn, frat parties.
yeah.
I'm trying to, retire at 30. I'm interested in going to Vegas and LA and New York and Miami and like talking
Mm,
to older women. And, that was my mindset when I was like 20, 21.
mm,
Especially living in Miami that summer. And I was around like all kinds of multimillionaire business executives and international playboys and models and all kinds of stuff. I was like, yeah, Texas is cool, college, whatever, but like there's a bigger world out here for me. And then once
yeah.
I got used to Miami, LA, and New York, that's when I was like, all right, I need to see Tokyo and London and Paris and, those type of spots. So I've
Mm,
always been curious, but yeah, I like to close deals because the only way to become retired is to close huge deals. But yeah, once I got kind of like in the groove of software sales, I stopped necessarily caring about retiring at 30. And I was more so just like, let me see how I can make the most amount of money in the least amount of hours per week.
mm,
So I can travel to the most places and have the best work life balance. So I think if I didn't have such an emphasis on work life balance and travel, I could have maybe been maniacal and invested in different things and maybe be a multimillionaire. But I'm good with what I've done and where I'm at. And it's funny when I did the interview with Cyrus and I was talking about I make around $300,000 a year, whatever. Somebody in the comments was like, "Man, if I spent 17 years to only be making 300,000, I would feel like a failure." And I was like, one,
only
yeah, I was like, that's cap. But two, at the end of the day, like it's not about just money. It's about quality of life. And
right.
so I'd rather make 300,000 and have a quality of life than make 1 million and be burnt out, have no social life, have no experiences, things like that. Like for me, I knew what I enjoyed and I enjoyed life and I just needed enough to enjoy life.
Right.
I wish I would have invested better, but you live and you learn. But yeah, and the thing was, I was like, dude, I've been making that for over a decade, so it's not like I built up that. It's just I plateaued around
Mm,
300 to 500,000. But if I really was freaking obsessive, maybe I could have got a couple $1 million W-2s. But really, how you make the money is equity, as a founder, and that's kind of like my next goal.
mm, yeah. People just be talking shit, yo.
Yeah, man, he didn't have a
300,
profile picture. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, like come on, that's a troll. 300K, you know what I mean? People would,
he said 400 to 700K. I'd feel like a failure. I was like, he's like, yeah, I
yeah,
already made that, and I'm like, people try to like age shame you and stuff like that. It's like, dog, I've been making
yeah.
6 figures since I was 24. Like,
Like, what are you talking about?
what I'm saying? But I'm not trying to flex or nothing. Fuck it.
No, no, no. I mean, you earned it. You know what I'm saying? At this point, you put the time in. You like you said, you had that early exposure when you were 21. Not too many 21-year-olds are thinking about that type of stuff. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, be humble, of course, be as humble as you want to be, but also like you've earned the right to kind of talk your shit, I would say. But yeah, all right. So that kind of segues into this next thing. Um, so as a black man, and you work in tech, but you also, I would imagine you come face to face with like a lot of different people, a lot of different races and everything like that. So, as a black man, what has your experience been like in your field?
Yeah, I mean, number one, there's none of us in tech sales,
Mm,
so it's it kind of sucks, but it also has worked in my favor. Now, as somebody that has a lot of experience, I don't feel like I need to gatekeep us out of the space so that I can be the special black guy.
right,
Um,
right.
I want to see more of us. I want me to be more of the norm versus the unicorn. Um,
Mm,
but honestly, I believe tech actually is genuine about being inclusive. They're genuine about having diverse perspectives. They're genuine about seeing the value and having not just the same old frat guys and country boys. Because the decision makers are all different types of people. So I would say my experience has been mainly positive.
mm,
From a recruiting standpoint, I think it's made me more in demand because, there's questions like, man, why does this team not as diverse? So I'll have every single team trying to, you know, bring me on.
yeah, yeah.
I used to have maybe like, I don't know, 10 to 15 recruiters hit me up a week, and
Mm,
I would have to just copy and paste the message. Thanks for reaching out. Not currently in the job market, but if I am, and if anything changes, I'll let you know. And then when I would be like, all right, cool, I feel like I'm at the end of the rope at this company, I would just go back to LinkedIn and then copy and paste the message being like, hey, um, great news. I'm currently in the market, open to positions with a base range of this and an OTE range of this, preferably remote. If you have anything open that fits this, let's schedule some time to speak. And I'll
mm.
just like go through like 100 recruiters. And man, these recruiters are excited when a
Yeah.
qualified candidate is available.
Yo.
And then a qualified black candidate, she
Yeah.
they're like, what? Like, and so it was always a fight for me. And it's weird now because I'm in this place where I'm not, I'm like a personal brand and I'm working with different things.
Yeah.
I'm doing different stuff. But when I talk about tech sales, it makes me kind of want to get back into it like full time again. But, I'm going to see where I can take big tech energy and the startups that I've been working with and, you know, see if I can be creatively an entrepreneur. But, part of me is just like, let me just get back into the gym,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying? And just get back
right,
to it. I just have to change my LinkedIn up so that it looks less like a creator and more of a, enterprise salesperson again.
right.
Because right now I'm probably scary to companies like,
Yeah.
you going to be selling or is he just going to put money into his podcast? And then, so yeah, but
No, to hear that you have a generally positive experience, what I'm saying, that's pretty good. Because like you said, it's not that many, but then that can play into your favor when it isn't that many. But then I guess my next question is: have you had those moments where you're kind of looking and you're like, "Damn, I'm really the only one here"? Have you had those moments, and if so, like how do you manage that stuff?
so it's way worse when I have to come into the office.
Mm,
So that's why for me, I love working for companies that don't have an office in my city.
okay.
Um, so there's no like, hey, Jarrett, can you pop in? Like, but I've had, some roles where I've had that, and it's uncomfortable. It sucks. You feel like you have to be something that you're not.
Yeah.
You got to listen to jokes that aren't funny. It's just like, especially as I got older, I'm like, man, I'm around all these like 20 somethings and
Yeah.
they're just talking a bunch of nothing. And I'm just like, but you just got to just kind of grin and bear it. But for me, working remote, and then if my role caused me to constantly be on a plane in front of prospects, that's where I always enjoyed it. Because I don't
Mm,
care if I'm in a room full of like, other races and we're talking business because the only money that matter, the only color that matters to them and me is green.
yeah.
So they may have a like, who's this young black kid? coming in, like they're used to, gray haired, white dude, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But once I started talking, I think they were like, wow,
Yeah.
I wonder if he's in here at this age, you know what I'm saying? Because I think age was more of a factor in people like not being sure if I had the authority or
Hmm.
the experience to be credible in talking about how I can help their company make millions or save millions or whatever. But
Right.
once I started talking about other companies that we've worked with and I can speak their language and I was asking intelligent questions, that's when they started to respect me and say, okay, this kid knows what he's talking about. Um, and honestly, I feel like being a black guy that can talk the talk um, made people be like, I don't really like them, but keep it with me. You know what I'm saying? And like my goal, honestly, was to get people to change their perspective of us. Like, I don't feel the pressure of like, I've got to be the example of what a black
Yeah.
man is. But I do also feel like a responsibility to show people that black men are not a monolith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we can be both.
Hmm.
Have swag and style and all
Right.
that, but we can also
Right.
be professional and responsible. And so it's an interesting dynamic as a black man going between respect and responsibility.
Yeah.
Personally, don't care what anybody thinks about me. You can think I'm a square, you can think I'm cool. I just know what I think about myself. And I like myself, and I like the people that like me. And I like people in general, so I treat people with respect. That's
Right.
really what it comes down to. So, to all the young black men watching this, don't worry about what anybody says about your professional endeavors. Whether
Hmm.
they don't look like you, they look like you, whatever. They're just projecting their own insecurities and fears onto you. And there's a potential jealousy too to see like, all right, you're moving on up to the east side without them. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, treat everybody with respect, from the janitor to the CEO, and be value focused. And any preconceived notions about who you are because of your age or your race or whatever eventually goes out the windows, because what I love about tech is it's results oriented. So
Hmm.
they don't give a crap what you look like, what you do, whatever. If you get results, you get results.
Right.
So focus on getting results. And I think that's why a lot of people are getting laid off and screwed over right now, is because they're more focused on getting the bag and getting the status of being in tech
Right.
versus really executing and getting the results for their tech company. And if
Hmm.
you're constantly bragging about how, like me, I'm talking about like going to different countries and stuff like that. But was I doing that while I was at the company? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even bragging, but I'm just kind of just sharing my experience.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
But I wasn't on social media. I wasn't posting vacation pictures. I had like 5 followers.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to know what I'm doing. My teammates don't need to know what I'm doing. Nobody needs to know what I'm doing. So, like, and even now, I don't even work for a tech company, and I'm not even showing people what I'm really up to in my private life. I don't really even talk money. I talked about it here, and I talked about it whatever, but like, it took me 2-3 years to talk about money. Um,
Mm.
it's not about that. It's about results. It's about integrity. It's about value. It's about relationships. And if you do all those things, you'll make money. If
Right.
you don't, you will be out of a job quickly. You'll be somebody that people say don't hire him. He's
Right.
he's lazy. And if you're somebody stacking jobs, you better get results for the jobs you're stacking, or else you're going to be out of 2 jobs, or jobs, and you're going to be burnt out. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's great advice. Two things before I ask this next follow up. You mentioned knowing what you're talking about. I feel like that's been another theme. Uh, as far as like being the only one in the room, it hits a little different when you actually know what you're talking about, and then that piggybacks off of, it's not just enough to get your foot in the door. You need to apply yourself, and like you said, like put your best foot forward, and don't be lazy. Like if you're going to do the job, do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think those two things kind of go hand in hand. So my next follow up on that is I'm looking at your page right now. You got connecting people to tech careers in your bio. Um, what goes into that? Was that more so? Is that just in general, or is that more related to people of color? Like what went into that? This goal to get more people into tech.
Yeah, so basically during the pandemic, my friend invited me to this app called Clubhouse when it's invite only,
Yeah.
and I hopped on a stage in this club called Blacks in Tech. Nobody was talking about tech sales, so I shared a little bit about it, and everybody was like super engaged and interested. And so I had 80 followers at the time, and I looked at my phone after I got done, with the room, and I had like 300, 400 followers. I was like, wow,
Mhm.
that's crazy. And then I did a room the next day, and that room went for 6 to 7 hours. We had thousands of people in there, and I gained a bunch of other followers. And so it really wasn't about the followers for me. It was more about like how excited people were to learn about this and how people genuinely didn't know about it. So that's when, I was like, you know what? One, I'm not doing nothing. I'm stuck in the house because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
And two, this could be something that could really inspire and shift how tech looks in terms of getting more Black people in tech.
Mhm.
So that became my new mission. We did rooms every day. I went from 80 followers to 30,000 in like 2 months. Then, because of that, I felt guilty about the amount of time I spent on Clubhouse. So I left my job because I didn't feel like it was fair to them. And
Mhm.
from there, it's like, all right, cool. Let me see where this whole Clubhouse thing can go. And then Clubhouse turned into me working with Afrotech, and then it turned into me doing Twitter Spaces for Afrotech, and then
Mhm.
eventually I started like posting a little bit more on Instagram, and then launching my podcast on YouTube. But yeah, my goal really is to connect people to tech jobs, connect tech founders, Black tech founders to funding, and then Black children to tech education, cybersecurity, AI, software engineering in particular, and then also socializing the opportunities of tech sales so that people can get into it. Um, and yeah, man, it's been a really cool journey. It's something I'm genuinely passionate about. It's not like
Mhm.
a job.
Right.
It's not necessarily for the clout, but having this visibility has been helpful in terms of the different, executives and founders and VCs I've been able to meet, and just figuring out like, all right, how can we create partnerships to get each other to the next level? Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I do speaking engagements. I do one-on-one consulting. I work as an affiliate for different boot camps. I work with different accelerators and VCs to help them scout, the next Black founders. I work with tech conferences to do media activations, and I did podcasts with Black Tech Weekend in Detroit, Black Men in
Mhm.
Tech in Fort Lauderdale, Sisters in Sales in New York. I did content with InvestFest, so it's like I just want to just document all the dope Black people in tech,
Yeah.
get the information from them that's going to help the next generation get to where they need to go faster,
Right.
and also amplify dope Black people in tech so they can get more opportunities. Because I want people that are winners to one help other people win, but then help them win more. And
Right.
you know it usually works out where if you help enough people win, then people will help you win. But
Mhm.
I will say it has been a little interesting, the whole like helping people get into tech thing, because the people trying to get in sometimes have like a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they're like, I don't have money, so it's like, all right, how do I make money doing this? It's tough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some people have done really well at it in terms of like selling boot camps. I'm not as proficient at that. Um, so I'm figuring out, all right, cool. Instead of me making money off of helping people break into tech, I'll utilize ability and the network I have to be an advisor for different startups, get equity in their companies, help them raise, and I'll make money that way. Make money with speaking engagements, things like that. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, because I give away so much free value, I think there's an expectation of me just helping people out for free all day, which is easier when I'm making $250,000 a year as a software salesperson. But when I'm not,
Yeah.
it's a little challenging. So that's been one thing that's been interesting about the last 2 to 3 years is everybody wants free help, free resources, free advice, free connections. And so it's just about balancing it and, wanting to do the right thing for our people, but also making sure that I'm not pouring from an empty cup and
Yeah.
handling business. So like, I almost hit you up and be like, yo, bro, here's my rate to be on your podcast. But I was like, you know what, let me just do this podcast because I want to help his platform. There's going to be content for me to, help my brand. So you
Mhm.
gotta just kind of like pick and choose when to charge people and when to just like, do it for the culture. But that's been an interesting challenge for me to navigate because I'm just naturally a nice person. I naturally just give, but if you give an inch, people take a mile.
Yeah.
And when you give for free, people kind of don't appreciate it as much. Whereas, when people pay, they pay attention
Yeah.
and they actually like, get stuff done because they're invested. So
Right.
it's been interesting. But uh, last thing I'll say is the thing I'm most proud of when it comes to my journey as I guess you can call it like a tech influencer or whatever, is when I was on Clubhouse, I was getting hit up by so many people as being like, hey, can you connect me with this recruiter, that recruiter, this recruiter, that recruiter? Then I got a huge backlash because they're like, Jared's not responding to my DMs. And I'm like, number one, I'm not getting paid to do this. Number two, I have 50 million DMs every day. So what I decided was I just reach out to all of my recruiters and be like, hey, I'm going to throw a room once a week. Can you pull up and just share your roles? And so I'd have like 30, 40 recruiters pop on stage and share roles. And then
Mhm.
people from our community would pop up and shoot their shot directly at the recruiters. So we got hundreds of people, jobs in tech. We also educated them on like the do's and don'ts on how to reach out to recruiters, how to put together your resume, your LinkedIn, how to deal with interview questions, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, man, I wish those rooms were recorded. But that's why I made the move to YouTube so that like all this really great information that we're providing is
Right.
crystallized, archived, and digestible for future generations.
No, I love that. Couple of things. Well, for one, no, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. That's why, like, usually I don't do them this short of notice or this soon because, like I said, I had a meeting like right at the end of the day. But once you said you had time today, that's why I'm like, I got to make this happen. But
Yeah,
when I saw you talking on the,
Basil's going to be next week, so I'm going to be in these streets. So I'm glad.
yeah, see, that's all. I'm like, let me make sure I get this. But when I saw you talking about what, and then like seeing your page and everything, I related to it a lot because that's kind of what made me start this channel was the fact that there's not a lot of black people. So I'm like, it's either to me it's like a lack of interest or a lack of opportunity or like a lack of exposure. I don't know, but the goal with this was to like show people all these different things that you could get into. So yeah, that's why I'm really happy we got to do this. Um,
Yeah, it's
I
also
don't,
my energy too. Like I could tell your energy was like genuine. It wasn't on some
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yo, man, I'm trying to get views. Like
yeah. No, no, no.
you want to have a conversation and just kind of like share um,
Mhm.
my story and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like people's energy and kind of their, I guess, come from is also super important. So
Mhm.
like if I felt like you're just trying to get a come up so that you can get, followers, then I might have been like, you know what, here's my rate,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
But
As you should, though. As you should.
yeah,
So,
that's something I'll have to figure out. But I have an abundant mindset though, so I'm not worried.
mm, no, yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Th- so we got like a few more questions. I just want to make sure I'm good on your time and everything.
Yeah, I got
Uh,
a couple minutes.
okay. So we talked about your experience as a black man. Do you want to get into like any adversity or obstacles you had to overcome? You had a pretty long career, and like I said, you're pretty ballsy and like what you. So you seem pretty what's the word? Confident, I would say. So was there a time where you lacked confidence? Like what obstacles have you overcame to get to where you were?
You know what? Like in sales, I didn't really ever lack confidence. But I would say as an entrepreneur, as a brand, as an influencer, whatever you want to call it, I'm way less comfortable with this
Mhm.
than I was with just doing tech sales because tech sales wasn't about me. It was about them and their problem. Uh,
Right.
so I wasn't up there like, oh my God, this presentation's got to go well. I'm just sharing information. If you like it, great. If you don't, it's cool. But I'm
Yeah.
confident in the solution we're selling. So I would say, like to anybody that does tech sales, like choose a solution that works and works really well and gets people results and people are happy about. Because if you have that, then you should walk in with your chest out,
Mhm.
head high, like, hey, you guys should get this because it's going to be great. So that's why I never really had like a lack of confidence. It was just more so just making mistakes and figuring it out.
Mhm.
I would say like my biggest struggle has been as an entrepreneur, you know, asking for what I'm worth, um,
Right.
saying no to the wrong things and saying yes
Mhm.
to the right things. Because there's so many opportunities that come up once you get visibility on social media and everybody wants something. So it's just about, all right, I need to manage my time in places that serve me spiritually, mentally, financially. And then there's a potential of reciprocity. So I'm not pouring out of an empty cup. To me, that's been the most difficult thing I've dealt with in my career. And, just and getting what I'm worth because it's easy to get what I'm worth in tech sales because there's a rate. I have
Right.
experience and results, and they are happy to pay me 150 if I can bring in 1.5 million,
Right.
and then give me another 150 on top of that. They're happy to do it. But when it comes to you know people that feel like entitled and to having access and entitled to your help and you should do this for free and you should want to
Mhm.
do that, that's where it gets a little weird, and that's where I just had to like set boundaries and
Yeah.
start telling people no. But yeah, I struggle with that. So that's been the biggest struggle in terms of being black in tech sales or tech. Hasn't been anything. They really don't care. Like straight up, they just want you to make the money.
Yeah.
You can't make the money, you're out. It doesn't matter who you are, you're out.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
that's what it is.
a quick question off of that. You mentioned knowing saying yes to the right stuff, no to the right stuff, to the wrong stuff. I guess. I guess one is. Has there been a time where you said yes and it ended up being the wrong thing, or vice versa? And also, how do you differentiate, or how do you determine what is the right thing? Is it right for you? As in, like you mentioned, like reciprocity and everything like that. Like, how do you determine like what's the right one, and what's the wrong one?
I mean, the wrong ones are people that say one thing and don't follow through. That's
Gotcha.
that's where the wrong is. So, yeah, man, we're gonna pay you this once you do that, and then once you do it, it's like, I gotta, get that. Loaning people money has been the wrong
no,
thing for me. Like,
no, no, no.
I've lost so much money helping friends out because I feel like I'm in a position to help. But the
Yeah.
biggest rule I've learned is never give money that you need back.
Mm.
If you're going to give it, expect to give it away and never ask them for it again. And if they want to have integrity and be like, hey, Jared, here's the money that you lent me, great. You have exceeded my expectations, etc. But if you expect
Mm.
me to give you the money back, you're probably always going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Now I'm the bad guy. Like, bro, you were just in Zanzibar and you're asking me for $500. Like, you don't need $500
It's my money though.
Like, yeah, I do actually. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's and it's crazy. So I would say like the wrong opportunities are when you're just helping people out, um, and you expect anything back. Like if you're gonna help, just help,
Yeah.
and that's it. So that's number one. And if you can't help, then don't.
Right.
And don't feel guilty about it. Um, and then working with people that don't have integrity, that don't actually have good morals, um, and attaching yourself to them hurts your reputation. That's
Yeah.
the wrong thing. So really, I try to look at what is the track record of results. Um, you know, what is the opportunity cost of choosing this versus choosing something else?
Mm.
And what is the character of this person? And even if I can make money with them, would I want to be associated with them?
Right.
Because in terms of how they treat people, in terms of how they treat women,
Right. Right. Right.
saying like all money isn't good money. Um,
Exactly.
and so like I really want to be around people that I respect and people that respect me, not just because of what I can do for them.
Right. Right. No, I love that. That's great. Um, I All right. Another little quick thing. Well, all right. It could kind of be a part of this next thing. Um. Oh shit, my fault. I forgot we had one more. All right. So you mentioned feeling guilty. You're pretty successful. Do you ever feel any like survivor's guilt or anything like that, where people reaching out to you and stuff like that? No.
Well, I would say maybe a little bit. Like when I see people that want to be where I'm at,
Yeah.
it gives me a soft spot in my heart, and I want to just like for instance, I had mad people hit me up today after post I did went pretty viral. It's almost got like 40,000 views,
Damn.
and I don't really get that views like that. So like everybody's like, yo man, I would love advice. I love a one on one, this and that. So part of me is like feels guilty for saying no when I've been blessed to be in a position to
Yeah.
potentially change their life.
Yeah.
And it's like I have 100 people asking for something. I only have time to do 20. So if I charge a small amount just to see who actually
Yeah.
is really invested, one, the time I'm spending and the money I'm not making for spending it there is less because at least I'm getting something. And then two, they're really invested. So uh, I'm more motivated to give them a return on the investment because they sacrificed. And so I'm
Right.
okay with doing a sacrifice. We're both sacrificing, but at least my sacrifice isn't as crazy because you sacrifice too. So yeah, I do have a little bit of that. In terms of feeling guilty about success, no. And the reason
Mhm.
why is because I surround myself with way more successful people than me. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
feeling like I'm the king of the hill. I'm always like in the middle of the pack or the bottom. And I'm good with that. Like Art Basel next week, I'm gonna be around art collectors worth millions of dollars, in some cases billions of dollars. When I'm in InvestFest, I'm around Steve Harvey and Robert F. Smith and
Mhm.
folks that are, making more money than, I've ever even sniffed. So I surround myself with super, super duper successful people, and very smart people, good looking people. I like to surround myself with the best people, so that keeps me humble. When I lived
Yeah.
in New York City, I was always around successful people. When I'm in Miami, I'm around LA, whatever. Like that's why I like to be in those type of cities. I'm not trying to be in podunk, whatever, and be the only person with the car and the biggest house. Like that's not interesting to me. What's interesting to me is to be around people that are doing incredible things that make me humble, inspired,
Mhm.
I can learn from. So if you're ever feeling that way, just change your environment so that you can be around more success so that you don't feel guilty about your success. Because what I love being around successful people is like when I say, hey, I just closed a $250,000 deal. Instead of them being like, man, this guy, he thinks,
Yeah.
oh, he's rubbing it in my face. I can eat a Big Mac and he's talking about a $250,000 deal. Instead, they're
Right.
like, good for you, man. Um, That's really awesome. Proud of you. Excited for you. Can't wait for you to get that $1 million deal like I just closed yesterday. Now they're not
Yeah.
saying that to me, but they're thinking that. Like I look forward to seeing you get to the success that I'm at, but I'm happy to see that you're progressing. And
Mm.
I'm interested in helping you progress. But the only reason they'll be interested in helping me progress because they might be doing a lot better than me, but I still know somebody that can help them do better. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? Because I'm creating a network of value. So that's pretty much why I'm very, very, very humble about what I've done because I really don't feel like I've done anything compared to the folks on the Forbes list.
Right, right. No, that's a good John, good advice right there. All right, so before we start wrapping up, you've done a lot in your career so far. So I just want to quickly get into like where you see yourself going 5, 10 years, and then 20 plus years from now. Um, you mentioned the idea of retiring by 30. I used to say something similar, but with what you're doing, I can't really see you just sitting still. So like, where do you see yourself going 5, 10, 20 plus years, and then like, what does retirement look like for you?
That's a great question. I really honestly don't know. And most people were like, "Yeah, man, I have my 5 year plan, my 10 year plan, my
Yeah.
plan." I mean, that's a smart way to go. You can't get to where you want to go if you don't have a plan. So that's something that I'm going to really reflect on at the end of this year because I literally was just like winging it since I started becoming popular on Clubhouse. Uh,
Mm.
but I would love to have equity in some startups that go public. I would love to have my podcast become even bigger, bigger sponsors, bigger affiliate partners, and I would love to make like 6 figures a month off of not just the podcast, but also um, you know equity that I have in different organizations,
Yeah.
partnership deals that I help put together. Like, all right, let me connect this juggernaut with this juggernaut to create this big deal, and here's my finder's fee. Like,
Mm.
I kind of just want to utilize my network to create a whole referral network where I'm connecting a bunch of deals. It doesn't take me much time. I just say, hey, John, talk to Jeff, and y'all sign this.
Yeah.
If you guys do something, then this is what I get kicked back, and there's no discrepancy about it. That's something that I want to get really good at. Um, and I would love to invest in real estate. I think the most thing that I'm interested in though is like getting married and having kids.
Mm.
Um, you know, I would love to have some residual income. Um, I was actually really interested in the music industry because of publishing, and I'm
Mm.
into like the idea of like, all right, I get these artists, they sign on the right record label, and I just get publishing. So figuring out a way to do that would be very interesting as well, which is why SaaS platforms are dope because it's recurring revenue.
Mm.
So, being an advisor for some SaaS startups and helping them close deals and getting residual income from those deals would be interesting. So,
Right.
um, and then getting paid a lot more for my speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Um, you know what I mean? I think that would be cool too. So, um, there's some different things. I also think like when the metaverse becomes a thing, I'll absolutely be able to cash out on that. Like I'm really positioned well for it. That's why I
Mm.
lived in LA for a bit, but then the metaverse kind of like cooled off. But like the metaverse, crypto, NFTs, I think there's still an opportunity there. It's just
Yeah, me too.
um, so seeing what I can do in that space and utilize my network in the media space to connect to Web3 and AI could be interesting. Media and entertainment hates AI because they look at it as a threat. But,
Mm.
I would love to see ways where that could be a moneymaker as well. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, man, I don't know though. We'll see. Any combination of those things
Yeah.
work. But the crazy thing about the position I'm in is I get approached by so many different things, and usually it's people trying to use me, to be honest. But if you're not, you can't get used, you're useless. So I'm not mad at it per se, but I just got to make sure that we can use each other equally,
Yeah.
help each other, versus use each other, and we're both like freaking assed out because we're so selfish. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I just got to figure out like out of all this time, all this little time that I have, what is the best way to utilize my time?
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just kind of figuring out.
No, all sounds doable. We're gonna check back and see how that's going. But definitely sound like obtainable goals for sure. Where we at with it? All right, so we're gonna start wrapping up now. I've been combining these last two things. So I have, what tips do you have for someone that's maybe they're in tech sales, maybe they're entrepreneur, maybe they're on a similar journey to you. Like, what tips do you have for somebody that's trying to get to your point? And then after that, just like any final words, or you mentioned your podcast. If you want to plug anything, like just basically like your parting words here and like your tips.
Yeah, so tip is relationships are worth more than money. So really
Mm,
curate your relationships, be impeccable with your word,
mm,
your promise, over deliver always. Um, Treat people with respect, empathy, um, listen to understand, don't listen to manipulate. Um, you know what I'm saying? The more problems you solve, the more money you'll make. Um,
mm-hmm,
and the best way to break into tech is to attend tech conferences and be very intentional about your goal with that conference. Research the companies that are going to be there, the people that will be there, research the roles that you want to land at these companies. And so that when you meet these people, it's not a, so what do you do? It's,
mm-hmm.
oh, I saw you're on the flyer, you work at
Right.
on as a program manager. I actually just finished my certification as a program manager, and I found this role in LA that was posted last week. I think I'm a perfect fit for it. What advice do you have for me as I approach that role? Well, you should, figure out the
Sure.
certification. You have this certification, be prepared for these answers, these questions. They really want to know about blah, blah, do, 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 do. Awesome.
Mm-hmm,
Um, I would love the opportunity to get a referral from somebody in the organization so that, I can skip the applicant tracking system and get right in front of the recruiter. Is that something you might be comfortable with? Yeah, well, I just met you, so I'm not really sure. I totally understand. And I know this conference is really, really busy right now, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. But if we connect on LinkedIn, I'd love to
yeah.
like a virtual coffee or a virtual lunch. I'll send you a Seamless card, a Starbucks card, and I would love to tell you more about myself, my journey, why I'm a great fit for the organization. And after that, if you feel comfortable, would love for you to refer me. You know, if somebody comes with that energy, they're going to be like, you know what, just on LinkedIn, and I'm just going to send it to you. Or let's just sit down tomorrow in the morning and we can just do it then. We don't have to do a virtual thing, you know.
Mm-hmm,
And but like people that are prepared, that are respectful of their time and resources by offering value proactively.
mm-hmm,
And the best way to get in front of the right people is a tech conference. So there's Techsgiving in DC, December 6th to the 9th. Render ATL is one that I really recommend. Black Men in Tech in Fort Lauderdale just happened, but the next one will be good. Afrotech will be in Houston. Black is Tech in Atlanta. There's a ton of them. So in terms of plugging, follow me on Instagram, Dr. J, not Doctage, DOCPAJ. So Dr. J, Instagram. Check out my podcast, Big Tech Energy, on all platforms. Especially would love for you to subscribe on YouTube. Approaching 2,000 subscribers, which I'm excited about.
mm-hmm,
I would also say connect with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name. All my first degree connections are open. I'm starting to do more content on LinkedIn. It's really a great place to go viral, and that's where the real business relationships are formed.
mm-hmm,
You can go to my link direct.me / big tech energy. So direct.me / big tech energy. That's where you can find all of my platforms. So my Twitter, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my podcasts, my website, jallbritain.com. You can, get my free ebook there. So, that's also on my direct.me/big tech energy. As soon as you pop in there, you'll see a link to get my free ebook. So check that out. And yeah, that's really about it. I have a free community on this app called Entre, ENTRE. It's called Tech Careers. So I post roles, I post events, I post a lot of stuff there. I have a broadcast channel on Instagram called Big Tech Energy, where I also post roles and stuff like that. And yeah, if you're interested in doing a one-on-one, my Calendly link is in my direct.me/big tech energy. Yeah, it's very affordable. I don't try to make money from it. I just want to just prioritize people that are willing just to put some skin in the game.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to get way more than you pay for. So feel free to tap in with me there. And then also have some boot camps that are on my page that, if you do sign up for them, just let me know. And I'm happy to give you like free coaching, et cetera, to make sure you get ROI from them.
No, you got resources for days, yo. So if you don't take heed to anything he said or check anything out, then I mean you're probably not really interested. So
Life, man.
I'm gonna throw like all the the links and stuff on the screen and everything for everybody. But yeah, no, we could. That's all I had. I really appreciate you taking this time today. Gave me a lot. You even gave me some stuff to think about myself. So yeah, it definitely was probably one of my better interviews, I would say. I'm gonna check out some of them links myself. For real.
Yeah, and check out my podcast if you haven't.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely will.
Yeah. But man, I appreciate it. This has been a dope
Oh, for
conversation.
sure.
And yeah, let me know if you ever come out to Miami, bro. I'll show you around.
Oh, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be in touch for sure. We definitely going. Yeah, you got me. Like everything you've been talking about, like I'm excited right now. So yeah, no, I'm gonna be in touch for sure. I really appreciate this.
Okay, bro.
Yeah. So that's it. That's been another episode of the My Tech Story interview series. That's it. Y'all be safe.
I just took a little break, it's time to run it back. I just made another stack, now would you look at that? I just made another track, now would you look at that? I just know I'll never slack, and that's a matter of fact.